Please stand for a silent reflection and the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can I get a roll call, please?
Mr. Campion?
Here.
Mrs. King?
Here.
Mr. American? Mr. Schuler?
Here.
Mr. Borbeck, absent Mayor O'Brien.
Here. And I'm going to read the Statement of Compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act. Pursuant to the requirements of the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act, notice of this meeting was included in the annual meeting notice filed in the office of the Borough Clerk, posted on the Borough website and on the bulletin board in the municipal building, published as legal notice in the Co-Star newspaper and mailed to those requesting notice and providing payment in accordance with Borough policy. And then, let me just state, we mentioned last meeting that we were going to have on the agenda an item discussing the tax assessment program. You may notice that that item is not on the agenda. We invited a member of the county tax board, right, to the meeting, and he could not make this meeting to give the presentation, so we held off that full discussion for the February 2nd, or February, what is the meeting date? February 8th, yeah. Is that when he's coming?
Yes.
He agreed? All right,
He
so
did, tentatively, but that's our...
that being said, if you're here to discuss that issue, there is a public comment section at the end of the meeting where you can discuss any meeting on the agenda or off the agenda, and you're more than welcome to bring it up, and we have plenty of opinions about it. So, let's get started. So, I would like to approve the agenda with the addition of adding appointments to the Environmental Commission.
Make that move. Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then I would like to approve the minutes from the January 1st reorganization meeting.
We can do them jointly.
Okay, and
Everyone was at both.
And the one for the January 11th meeting, which was the last week's meeting.
I'll make that motion.
Second it.
Mr. Campion?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. American?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Motion passes.
We don't have any scheduled presentation or public hearings, which brings us to the public comment section. This section is for public comment on agenda items only. If you have, go ahead. You do have a, or you're just setting up the, you had a presentation? All right, actually, before I get there, let me just say, I just wanted to say thank you to our police department, our public works, and to Jay and to Chris for all the hard work they did clearing our streets of the snow. It was quite a storm, and I think they did an excellent job, and I just wanted to publicly acknowledge them for all the hard work. So, thank you, everybody. Chris, if you didn't
Yeah, did a fantastic job.
Joe May, our public works director, I think, had them running for triple time. He took a break in the middle of the storm and said, can they get 2 hours of sleep? Yeah, so anyway, I just wanted to say that. So now the public discussion on agenda items only. If you have something to say, please come forward, state your name and address, and address the chair. Seeing no hands, I will close the public comment section.
I'll make that motion.
Somebody want a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Which brings us to our discussion items section. Do we have any items of discussion? No? All right. Mayor and council reports. I'll start with Chris. How is the finance committee?
We're still there. We're setting up meetings to meet with department heads over the next couple of weeks so we can start the budget process. The snowstorm kind of threw a wrench in when we were supposed to meet with some people and prepping for that, so not a whole lot to report.
Okay. Sarah?
The only thing that I want to report on is that The chief and one of our officers, Ray Kukowski, did go up and down Highway 71 today, making sure that all residences and businesses had the sidewalks cleared so that the children in town would have easy access to walk to school or ride their bikes if it's possible. And that's all I have to report.
Jim, do you have anything?
I'd just like to add my comment. I think the Public Works did an outstanding job doing this storm. They put in some long hours.
Yeah, and then they were back out there today clearing off the school.
And it was appreciated. That's
Robert?
it.
Everything's in good shape in terms of utilities. Right, Chris?
All right, that brings us to the reports, notices, and correspondences. We have a couple to report. The public notice from Wall Township adopting their master plan reexamination report. A public notice from the South Monmouth Regional Sewage Authority in sewer, telling us about the sewer connection fee. A public notice from the South Monmouth Regional Sewerage Authority with a revised meeting date. A notice of hearing of the Spring Lakes Board of Adjustments in relation to Pitney Drive. A notice of hearing of the Spring Lake Heights Board of Adjustment for an Ocean Road property. We have length of service awards, audit report provided by our auditors, and a letter from Cablevision and the check for our franchise fee of $74,000.
Great.
Did you have anything that you needed to add to those?
Not this time, Mayor.
All right. We do not have any ordinance introductions at this time, which brings us to our resolutions. The first resolution is Resolution 2016-38, which is a resolution appointing a member to the Borough Council for the seat that I vacated on January 1st.
I'm going to nominate Art Herner for that position.
I'll second that.
Are there any other nominations?
No.
Can we get a vote?
Mr. Campion?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. American?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Motion passes.
As Art is not here today, I don't think we're going to be able to swear him in, but we'll get him informed at the next meeting that he's...
Well, I will inform
Can-
you tomorrow.
Okay, can
Send out a
we-
letter.
Does he have to be sworn in at a meeting?
I don't think so. I think he can come in and I can swear him in tomorrow.
I'm just wondering if he's interested in starting sooner, if he's able to.
If you'd like, I will reach out to him tomorrow.
Okay.
Via telephone. And if so desires, I will come in and swear him in, and I will give him the packets that we've had so far,
All right.
just so you can see what's going to happen.
I'll let him know. All right, the next item on the agenda is Resolution 2016-39, appointing members to the Board of Adjustment. Let me just get to that, and I can read that to you. And those members are John Tengerman, Steve Weiss, and Thomas Martin as the alternate.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Can I get a roll call, please?
Mr. Campion?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. American?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Motion passes.
The next resolution is Resolution 2016-40, appointing members to the Beautification Committee. And those members are, to a one-year term, Lisa Britton, Eileen Eilenberger, Deirdre Fallon, Catherine Holland, Susan Herner, and Deborah McKeon.
Make that motion.
Second.
Mr. Campion?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. American?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Motion passes.
The next,
Comment on that resolution,
Okay.
the top it says for the year 21, there's no.
Oh, 2016.
Fix that.
several centuries ago. The next resolution is Resolution 2016-41, authorizing Monmouth County Mosquito Extermination Commission to apply pesticides.
Make that motion.
I'll second it.
Mr. Campion?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. American?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Motion passes.
The next is Resolution 2016-42, approving issuance of a social affair permit, Common Ground Grief Center.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Second.
Mr. Campion?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. American?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Motion passes.
The next resolution is Resolution 2016-43, approving use of the community center for the Monmouth County Board of Elections.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Mr. Campion?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. American?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Motion passes.
The next resolution is Resolution 2016-44, authorizing the adjustment of designated water sewer accounts.
Make that motion.
Second.
Mr. Campion?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. American?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Motion passes.
The next resolution is Resolution 2016-45, authorizing the extension of shared service agreement for dispatching service with the Borough of Belmar.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Mr. Campion?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. American?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Motion passes.
And the next resolution is Resolution 2016-46, approving payment of itemized claim on the January 21st bill list.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Mr. Campion?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. American?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Motion passes.
And that is all of our ordinances. We're, yeah, resolution for the Environmental Commission. So this is just
An announcement.
an announcement that I am appointing 2 new members to the Environmental Commission. And they are Sandra Dennison and Lisa Ball O'Brien, as well as adding 2 alternates, Gary McLean and Margaret Melchion. That brings us to our public comment section. Anyone wishing to speak on any issue whatsoever can please come forward, approach the bench, and state your name and your address.
Don Eilenberger, Pond Road. I wanted to add my thanks
Oh,
to
sorry.
the Department of Public Works. I looked out my window at about 3 a.m. And they were out there.
Yeah.
You can see them?
Yeah, with a backhoe, with all the equipment from the yard was on Pond Road for some reason. They did an outstanding job. You know, we got up in the morning and roads were clear.
There were some of the roads that had some giant drifts on them, yeah.
I have a few questions for the council. I don't know exactly what member would address them, perhaps.
Just address them to the chair, and then we can direct it to whoever might have the answer.
I believe there's supposed to be a traffic light going in.
Yes.
What's happened with that?
It is supposed to be put in this spring. There was some holdups with people giving permission for the properties on the corners. And when I had checked back in early October, November timeframe, they were still waiting for some of those releases on the corner properties. Then once they got those, then it would become a design issue with the engineering department of the county. And then from there, a process of ordering all the supplies that were going to be needed to put the lights in.
12 traffic lights that will be required.
And then hoping that they would be able to put it in for the spring. They wanted to try to get it in before the summer traffic would be coming in for the beaches and everything. So right now, that's when the schedule is for.
The traffic right now is bad, so.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Summer will be awful. The
Right.
traffic light is not in. Which brings up Ocean and Old Mill,
Yes,
that intersection.
yes.
Is any progress being made there?
Yes, Joe May is working on that, and as I understand it, if we don't have a whole bunch of bad weather, they're gonna start striping, correct?
That's correct. The council adopted an ordinance providing for the designation of that intersection to include a yield right to the south.
Yeah.
That was subject to filing with the state DOT and approval by the county. I believe that's all in place, and as it's been indicated, it's just a matter of weather and the painting getting done.
I imagine sooner or later, really what that corner needs is either a four-way stop or a light eventually. You know, there's just too much
Well,
traffic.
we did look into a light, Don,
You
and
know, a
apparently.
four-way stop works quite well.
Yes, and apparently the statistics were not there to put in a traffic light.
Accidents.
Right.
That'll happen.
Unfortunately.
My last item was the Spring Lake Tap House sign on the side of the building, which I believe is non-conforming, has been non-conforming since it was painted on the building. And I believe our code enforcement officer was supposed to address that, and it's been 2 years. Do we have any word on what's going on today?
I know it's an ongoing enforcement issue. Without checking with the code
2 years
enforcement officer,
ongoing.
I don't know what the status is, whether there was summonses issued or not.
2 years of ongoing code enforcement for something that obvious really is kind of unacceptable. So I would appreciate the
Yeah,
council,
we can try to push that issue along.
perhaps coaxing that along.
Yes,
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely.
thank you. Welcome back.
I'm Kathleen Heath, and this is my husband Thomas Walters. We live at 600 Essex Avenue. It's the corner of 6th and Essex, right by the firehouse. We were at the planning board meeting earlier this week in response to the notice about the new fire siren going in. Just to sort of reiterate, when I bought the house, it was next to the fire department. My son's a fireman. I have no problem with there being a fire siren there. But, you know, it's a traditional fire siren now. It doesn't go off very frequently. I've done a lot of research just since last week when we found out about this on the signal that's going in. And I have some concerns. So I guess, I'm a little nervous. I'm not usually and my husband can attest to that, I'm not usually. So I guess my concern is, knowing that there's going to be a fire whistle in town, we need it, I understand, I'm not against that. I'm not a not in my backyard kind of person, but I do want to have a voice when it comes to how this is going to be implemented, what it's going to do, the impact that it's going to have, because if you can see, we were provided with this map. Actually, I just got this today from Mr. Delaney, thank you so much. But I got some of the other information from the gentleman who was here from this company.
Yeah.
I've since sent him an email that I did not get a chance to forward to you, but I will. With my questions, I haven't received any response from him. But it's a map showing the signal for the decibels and the range of decibels. And basically, it says the decibel range for every part of the bullseye, and in the middle, it just says greater than 100 decibels. And we're right in the middle.
The bright red on the map is us.
So if, 100 decibels, I don't think that that's probably less than what the fire whistle, the current fire siren is, but that's not definitive, and
Yeah, greater
each.
than is.
Well,
is
yes,
Kind of vague.
and I don't really know, I'm not a scientist, and I'm having, I'm doing research, but they're putting in a pole with 6 sirens on it, all supposedly pointing in different directions, but each siren is in and of itself capable of generating, it's 400 watts, capable of generating 175 decibels, which is deafening. And I don't know if it's cumulative, so would it be all 6 added together, and they're saying they're gonna point it around our homes, but even their best case scenario puts us in bright red with no other description except greater than 100 decibels. So I don't know what the process is. I know it's been budgeted for. I don't know what other research has been done. I don't know who has a voice with it, what kind of committee is being generated. I don't know what the process is, but it's not an agenda item yet, and I think it should be, so that's why we're here tonight.
Part of the reason why we opted for this system was that it's a speaker system, and we can adjust whatever signal is generated to volume and pitch and frequency. What's there now is a literal mechanical siren. It spins, it gets the sound. It's also designed to broadcast down and out. These are speakers that go out, which is why they're elevating it up, but we'll have the ability to change whatever tone comes out of it, the sound. So if there is an issue when it's put in, there's a problem, it is easily rectified with software.
And they will be higher than the original, than the siren that's there now.
Except that I believe that you believe what you're saying, and you may have seen something to that effect, but the company that is producing this has not been able to give me those answers.
It is the exact same system that Seegert put in, and they have experience with it, so if you would ever love to see or talk to people there, we can arrange that, and we can go over and even talk to them and the people in the area if you'd like, and absolutely get more information.
Well, and I guess that's what I'm here for. I want to make sure that there's a process involved in that, and that it's not just me going off on my merry way and asking questions to which the answers will not matter. So what is the
It would be nice
process for
if, I
that?
mean, if Seegert is the same system, if we could get somebody from Seegert to come in and speak about the decibel levels that they have, like right next to the, because I think that's the one thing, I was at the zoning board meeting, and the one thing that wasn't, I don't think, clarified as well as it could have been was, yes, they said that the representative from the company mentioned that we would be adjusting the decibel levels, but when we were asking for sort of particular ranges, it would be nice to be able to say, yes, it's absolutely going to be in a 90 to 100 range as opposed to 100 to 120, right? Which is where it would be more
Or greater than
concerning,
100.
right? Or greater than 100, right? If we can get some of that detail, it would be great.
Yeah, oh, I'm sorry.
I also don't think that this whistle isn't gonna go off for every single call. is it?
No, I mean,
No,
we
it went off
had,
10 times last year.
we had
I think it
the
was up a
police
dozen times.
and we had the fire department here, and they said that it went off like about 10 times last year, approximately, so it's not, and the frequency of it going off is supposed to be, it's on the same level as it is, they aren't adding additional reasons to use it, so
Well, I
it
guess
should be about
that's
the same.
another, that's kind of a second level
Yeah.
issue. I have the dispatch protocols for the whistle that were just put into place, I get Friday, right? These protocols? They were just put into place
Okay.
Friday, and they seem very reasonable. However, if this is going to be something that is going to generate that level of decibels for it might only be 10 homes in the town, but we're a small town, I think 10 homes are important. They're just as important as everybody else's. If that is going to be the case, then maybe the protocol could be adjusted so that we already have another system in place that gets all of our emergency personnel going. It's a pager system, I'm not really sure what it is, cell phones. There have been times where sirens have not been used at all and everything is fine. So maybe that could be in the protocol, that this truly is an emergency broadcast system, that it truly is not the first call. If there's a structure fire, we see flames, fine, it's the whistle, siren goes off, whatever it might be, but there are a lot of calls that, if the cell phones respond, and those guys are there pretty darn quick. I live there, I see them all the time, so.
Yeah, we're at the very eastern end of Spring Lake Heights, and for this system to throw the sound to every outlying border, west, north, and south, from us, you can understand how we'd be concerned with how that physically could be possible for it to do that without blowing us out. And the gentleman from the signal company literally said to me, it's gonna be like you talking to me from halfway down this room. And I found that a little tough to believe, but there seemed to be some questions when we got into it with the decibel ranges that made it a little, he talked about pointing the speakers upward, and, maybe that helps everything, but.
The elevation will make a tremendous difference for
Yeah,
you experience.
that's what he
Your house will
suggested.
no longer shake.
He was not aware of the similarities to
He's
the
saying that, but
Seagate
the
system.
information doesn't, that their
I know
company's
because of my
providing isn't
involvement with
supporting
the
it.
people who were involved with Seegert, and that's where I've gotten a lot of my information, which is why we opted to go this route, because it was a win for everybody involved. So, I think that the next meeting, we will have a representative here from Seegert that can talk intelligently about how they went through the process and what options are
So
there.
it'll be an agenda item on the next
That-
meeting?
Yeah, that's fine.
Do I need to write a letter or anything to that effect?
No.
I'll happily do that. I just didn't have time to do it this afternoon.
Was it Chief Williams that was here?
Casey,
Somebody
yeah,
from
well, there was, the former chief of
Former
Seegert
chief
was
was
here
here.
at the zoning board meeting and attested to the usefulness of that system, as well as Casey Williams was here, who was he's a former chief, right? And he was speaking about the decibel levels of, the ones that we actually measured was the one over by Ocean Road Park, and that one was nearing,
Yeah.
ear damaging levels, so, the hope is that nothing will be as loud as that one was.
Also, I want to point out that the system
Nowhere in
in
town.
Seeger is not the same company. It's a similar system, but it is not the same company.
Functionally, it is, right.
Yeah, well, the guy from this company didn't know, and no one could give. The problem is, we're getting a lot of information that sounds really good, but nothing's definitive and nothing can be backed up with documentation. So I'm concerned. If it can be, that's great, but again, I want a voice in the process because of it, and I want there to be a process. I don't want it to just be, great, they want a new fire whistle, here you go, without somebody looking at it and saying, okay, it does make sense, and, yeah.
We did spend time going through this, and part of, our options are we go this way and we make it less intrusive and have a more functional system, or we replace what's in there, which I don't think anybody wants. Especially the ones that are out, the one at the community center, which is above a playground, the one on Grieve Avenue, which is in a purely residential area, away from any connection to the firehouse or emergency services at all. That was part of why we opted to go this route. The elevation solves the issue of why, when they were put in back in the 60s, they were spread out because they didn't have the knowledge that we have now.
Well, I would love that documentation. If you already have it, that's great, but I've asked for it from everybody who we could think of, and no one's been able to give it to us, except for this, which came from this company, and this kind of does not back that up. So if there's information that would, I would love to see it.
Yeah, because the
Again,
process
I
has
wanna
been
be in
going
the
on for
process.
2 years.
We just received notification of it, by the way, through a letter that was stamped certified that was dropped in my mailbox 3 days before the meeting. So,
Yeah, it's been a discussion item for a long time.
and we were just notified.
Yeah, it's just new to us, and we're just trying to urge the council to not kind of like rubber stamp the process for the good of the many when there may be a harm to the few.
And-
Maybe
We won't
there
forget about you.
Maybe there won't.
And again,
We're in
I want
favor
to
of
make it
it,
very
just-
clear, we're not saying we don't want a fire sign in there. We
You
bought a
just-
house in front of the fire department, my son's the chief of the fire, he's the chief of the fire department at Goodwill No. 2 in Spring Lake. I understand, we are public servants, this
You
is
just
what
don't
we
want to
do.
make sure that it's not at 130 decibels in your yard.
Exactly.
I don't want everybody to be so gung-ho about putting it up and then sort of losing sight of the fact that it does need to be adjusted. I haven't even been able to get a definitive answer as to what we would want it to be adjusted to. What are the goals? Like, is 100 decibels acceptable? Is 70 decibels acceptable? What's acceptable? I haven't been able to get that information.
Well, the 100 decibel comes from when you look at NFPA, and even if you go into building fire alarms, your notification decibel level is minimum of 95 decibel. And that's so when you hear a fire alarm going off in a building, it's over 95.
Okay,
So the
this
target
is
at 100 is at that
68.
line.
So again, I'm getting conflicting
That's,
information, so I would
that's
love
a
to
mass
sit down with
notification
you.
system. I was trying to compare it to something you may have experienced.
Yeah, that's what, so I'd love to sit down with you or whoever, if it could be an agenda item, I'd appreciate it. Because again, I feel like there's a lot of information and not a lot of it is adding up. So,
Okay, well, we'll get it on the agenda and
okay,
put together some sort of presentation to help you understand what we're going to do.
would love it.
Okay,
Thank you
thanks
very
very
much.
Good evening. Excuse me, I'm Larry Devon from Wall Road, Spring Lake Heights. I have two quick issues. I hope they're quick. I'm looking for information on house foreclosures. We have a house sitting behind us that has been in foreclosure since at least the formal summons and complaint filed was May of 2010. And we're trying to figure out, the property is deteriorating, slowly but surely. I'm trying to find out what the process is to find out if there is a way of learning the schedule of the appropriate disposal of that property to a new owner who would come in and then take care of it. In conjunction with that, I have let this go for a couple of years. 2 or 3 years ago, I sent an email to the borough, and I also sent a letter to the attorneys for the bank. I think it's Citibank. I haven't received any response, and it's my fault for not following up on it. But there is a safety concern. There's an old tree in the backyard of this property that abuts my property. And after Hurricane Irene, which was about 4 years ago, a huge branch landed in my backyard. Fortunately, it didn't hit anybody. I was in the backyard 10 minutes earlier and cleaning the backyard up. Fortunately, I was inside and wasn't hit. The tree there is a danger, and I know that there is you know, a county or a city code or borough code, that if there is anything that's growing that's a danger to property or person, that the town will take care of removing it. I'm even willing to pay for it if that's the case, although it's on property that I don't own. So I'm trying to find out how does a homeowner determine where this foreclosure property is in the process of being resolved? Does anyone know?
Yeah, typically foreclosure, if it's uncontested, can take, you know, as much time as the bank allows it to take. So that's a hard question to answer. If you go on the New Jersey Judiciary website, if you have any information like the people's names or the docket number, sometimes you can go into I think it's civil case information section, and you can get a feel for where the case is. But it's not something where someone can tell you it's going to be 3 months, it's going to be a year, it's going to be 2 years, it's going to be 10 years, because the process is unusual, because a lot of it has to do with whether or not the owner of the property contests, and then whether the bank continues to be interested in moving the foreclosure forward, because sometimes the banks learn things about the property that they really don't want to become the owners of the property. In some instances, the banks will notify the municipality who should be contacted with regard to maintenance issues on the houses. But those letters come out before the complaint is filed generally, and sometimes they get sent to the wrong town. So your best bet would be to try, if you can figure out which law firm is actually prosecuting the case on behalf of the bank, to reach out to that law firm, and you may be able to get some information about what's going on. Often what happens is the loans still get assigned even though they're in foreclosure, and many and various things can happen that'll stall the process. So it would be impossible really to tell you it started in March, so it's going to be done in April or something like that. It's just not the way they work.
Yeah, understood.
But
I did send a letter to the attorneys for Citibank who are prosecuting that.
Yeah, I would
got
try.
no response.
Yeah, that doesn't shock me, because some of the larger firms that do foreclosure, and then that's all they do, it's very difficult to talk to somebody. I would suggest to you that one of the larger firms just went belly up, and a lot of the cases got pushed around to other places, which may explain a delay that you might look into again, trying to figure out which firm is handling it. And then actually, forget writing letters, you got to get on the phone, in my experience, and be willing to sit there long enough to actually make somebody talk to you, which is not, again, easy with the process, but it's, so to go the long way around to answer your question, I don't know that anybody can tell you when it's going to be done, unless they're very close to being done, then usually they can tell you. You know, they've got a sheriff's sale date or something like that.
Derek, what recourse do we have against neglected abandoned property like that?
Well, again, I think that there is some avenues in the law to take action and then charge it back to the bank. I'm not, as I sit here, I don't know the answer to that question, but I've seen some of the letters where they notify the town that they've got the case, that the house is where the house is, and that they usually identify. Usually, most of these banks and law firms that do this have entities that handle maintenance, because they end up owning a lot of the houses, and that's ultimately the person you want to try to get a hold of. But I'm sure there's probably either an ordinance or state law that would address if there was a dangerous situation that could somehow deal with the situation. I just don't know what that is off the top of my head.
Part of the letter that I wrote to the attorneys, and believe me, I tried to call them, and they say if you're calling for a foreclosure, write to us, or whatever.
Yeah, what I do is when I call those places, when you start listening to the menu, I usually hit 0 to get somebody as an operator and try to go that route. I seem to have more luck than.
In that letter, I happen to quote the town ordinance. I think it's, I looked at it before I came here tonight, I think it's like chapter 10, paragraph 5.3C, that says that the town will not allow something that's growing to be a danger to a person or property, and that they would take action.
Yeah, and I think that applies in cases where properties aren't being maintained, and the town has to go in and mow the lawn and things like that, and then a lien gets put on the property. I'm sure the same, I'm not sure, but I would assume the same process would apply in this instance. So you might want to contact Mr. Delaney to advise him of the property address, and we could look into that.
Okay, I'd be happy to do that. I did send him an email a couple of years ago. Somebody is maintaining it, there, you know, a fence section falls down, and, you know, they come back and they, you know, fix the fence. But, you know, the place is covered with mildew and, you know, mold all over the place. Another, just a quick issue, more interested in road repair. We live on Wall Road, and I do a lot of walking for exercise. Excuse me, and I walk from, you know, all over the place, but from Highway 71 to Old Mill Road, where we're just off the corner of Old Mill Road, I counted 91 excavations in Wall Road. And, excuse me, I'm very dry. If anybody walks down there or drives a car or rides a bicycle up and down Wall Road, they'll know what I mean. It's like a slalom, you know, going back and forth, because many of the excavations are depressed. And I'm just curious, is Wall Road somewhere on your schedule of getting repaired or, you know, resurfacing? I recognize it's a budget issue. I recognize that often you have to wait for grants and that sort of thing. But can anybody tell me if it's being looked at?
Go ahead, Jake, you have
First, if I may address your first issue, if you can provide me with the property address. There are a handful of properties in town that we are aware are in foreclosure. Some, as you pointed out, for an extended period. We refer to those as our problem properties. Our code enforcement officer is in some cases aware of which bank and/or which property maintenance company has been assigned. Based on your comments, it sounds like there is some action on the part of the property management company.
Right.
But if you get me the specifics, we'll review the file and we can make sure that we add some additional pressure to address the concerns you have.
By the way, it's 2216 Old Mill Road.
2216 Old Mill.
Correct.
Regarding your second issue, as far as Wall Road reconstruction, I will tell you that Wall Road is not high enough on the priority list currently that there's any scheduled or planned repair work. I will tell you, however, that we have ongoing discussions. As recently as 2 weeks ago, there was some exchange of information with the gas company, who is the primary party responsible for most, I won't say all, but most of the utility repair excavations that you've noticed. And we've requested they come back and do some repair work there, as well as some other areas in town.
That would be helpful, thank you. Okay, great.
Excuse me, Mr.
And thanks
Chairman.
very much for everything you folks are doing, and especially Public Works people this last couple of days were just outstanding.
Could you just hold a second, Janine has a question.
I just need your full address.
1225 Wall Road.
Thank you.
Larry Devine. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed.
Rick Anselmo, 554 Essex Ave. I was here last week on the fire alarm also, and I want to echo those sentiments on, more investigation of this and why it's where it is. I mean, we are on the east end of town. It's 2 houses from my bedroom window. And it's gonna blast a siren, whatever it might do, I don't care if it's decibels or what. But 3 houses on railroad tracks doesn't make any sense where it is. I mean, it's gotta be a central part of town, would be better to put it, I would think. Since it's trying to get 1 siren now in the whole town, is the way I understand it? 1 siren, this is the one?
That's correct.
So the other 2 are gonna be dismantled. So it seems sense to put it in the center of town. To me, it seems sense to that. And when I saw that map today, thank you for bringing that in, that kind of disturbed me, too, that big red area, we're in it. And, it's bad enough when the old siren used to go off. Now, I mean, it's gonna be pretty loud. Now, I mentioned last time, if it's only for emergencies at all, I mean, if the cell phones are out and whatever other communications are out, then I understand why it's being used. Other than that, I don't understand why it's being used. And there are towns all over the state, I was told we're on the Jersey Shore, but other towns have issues also in the state of New Jersey that have disbanded the whole siren system. So I just want it to be more centrally located, or at least discussed about where it's going to be. But again, we're 3 houses the firehouse is 3 houses from the railroad tracks, 4. That's it, and it's going to shoot out a whole, all the way to Route 35, which is a long distance, and all the way to north and south, which is pretty far. Central, I don't know where it would be, but central seems to make more sense. So I just want that to be up for discussion, and also, just similar to them, I received a letter in the mail the first time I heard of it. I guess I'm supposed to go on the internet every week, I don't understand, but first I heard of it is the council meeting that was a couple months ago. That's the first I heard of it. And it was a mail, what do you call it, I'm sorry, what was the mail again? Certified mail, that I didn't sign for it. And I didn't sign for the one last week either, where the piece, the certified signature part was gone, which is in my mailbox. So just to let you know how we're getting notified of these things. Okay? I appreciate your time, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for all of your efforts. My name is Dennis Selmont, and I live at 556 Essex Avenue, right on the corner of the firehouse. I wanted to thank my neighbor, and I certainly will be communicating and cooperating with her regarding information, regarding this process. We have a brand new house at 556 Essex Avenue, which is, again, next door to Rick's. I just find it hard to believe. Well, first of all, I want to thank you very much for attempting to communicate with us regarding these meetings that occur. As you may know, or I'm sure the mayor and I spoke on the phone briefly, I live in New York City, and yes, I'm a part-time individual here. My wife and I are moving toward retirement, but I'm a full-time taxpayer. The warrant affects us as much. I have a brand new home. We expect we'll be living here, so this siren certainly does impact us. We would certainly like to, we certainly will be communicating regarding additional information associated with this. I first of all find it hard to believe that 100 decibels is going to take care of the entire town. I mean, we looked at the town map, and again, as Rick's pointed out, this is not in the center of town. And I realize what is being said, and I know, I just sense that, as was pointed out earlier, that the first time somebody all the way over in town says, you know, I can't hear it, they're going to jack it up to 172 decibels. So we'll be looking very much to working with this individual to get some indication as to what this is going to do, what the decibels will actually be, because this truly and absolutely impacts us. I wonder also, were letters sent to everyone in our area that's being impacted, or just a note associated with that? The other thing, again, is, as Rick pointed out, was that, and I know you've made an effort, you certainly have. First of all, I went, as soon as I heard about this, as soon as I did, and I know you said you've been working on this for 2 years, I went to town hall and I asked about it, because I'm not here all the time. No one knew anything, not a word from anyone, call anyone, nothing, absolutely nothing, all right? Then we got this letter, and again, if you will, the cancellation. Recently, you guys were great enough to send me a notice that the meeting was going to occur. I'm sorry, I was ill last week and had surgery last week, but I wanted very much to be here today. The fact is, I did receive the note, the registered letter, and unfortunately, I live in a large building in the city. I travel, I went downstairs, I got the notification. I went to get the letter, and again, this has nothing to do with you, I just want to point this out to you. I went to get the letter, the postman is still in transit, you can't have the letter for 48 hours. By then, the letter was dated the 13th, I didn't get it until the day before. I believe I was on the phone with the mayor, and I was not a very happy camper. I would ask you if you would please just try to schedule these things a little bit more in advance, and perhaps a little bit more notice. I bet you'd get a lot of very qualified, very nice people. I used to be a Joint Commission Accreditation of Hospitals examiner, and I understand some of these things regarding the technology, and I look very much forward to talking to my colleague, or my neighbor, excuse me. The only thing is, as she pointed out, she has an affiliation, her son does, with the fire department. I have no such affiliation. I am not that conciliatory. If there's another way around this, I don't want it in my backyard. And I'll bet there's certainly plenty of people who feel the same way. So we do certainly appreciate the fact that this is going around, and that indeed there is some discussion at this point. We look forward, my wife and I look forward, and my neighbors in the street look forward to being a part of that process. And we certainly do know that this will benefit the entire town. I thank you very much.
Yeah, I mean, just to kind of reiterate the issue, the hope is that, I mean, there were previously 3 whistles in town.
I understand.
And one was on the fire department.
Right.
The hope was with this new system
Sure.
that none of the whistles, or that at no point in town would it be as loud as the old whistles.
Sure.
So not just not as loud for the rest of the town, but not as loud for anybody. So the hope is that even right next to the firehouse, that it would be quieter than the current whistle.
It'll be higher.
Just
Yeah,
doesn't
so
sound.
I mean, that's the hope.
Just
That's
doesn't
what we're
sound
working
like it
towards,
makes-
just so you know.
Literally, it just doesn't sound like it makes sense. We're looking forward to going through this process with you, and again, certainly for the betterment, for what is certainly best for the town. But we certainly would appreciate some notification, we certainly would appreciate being part of the process, and I would like very much to thank my neighbor for doing all the research. We certainly attempted to do that. I could not find anyone in town particularly who knew anything about this, other than a letter that would come, and 2 days later, there would be a meeting. We didn't do anything. So, again, I thank you very much, and I look forward to talking to you after the meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening. Susan Malchi, 559 Atlantic Avenue. I did come in late, so forgive me if this has already been addressed. I'm looking forward to coming to the meeting tonight because I thought there was going to be some discussion about the tax assessment.
Yeah, I mentioned at the top of the meeting that last week we mentioned that was likely to be an item on the agenda.
Yeah.
We asked a member of the county tax board to come in and give a presentation to help enlighten us on that issue and give a little more background. He was not able to attend this meeting, he will be at the next meeting, so, and I also stated that if you did have a specific concern, you're doing, right now would be the perfect time to discuss it, as long as you are here.
Yeah, well, I've been through the process a couple of times, through the appeals process, and through the assessment process, and I would just like to, somebody to explain to me what it's really about. And what my involvement with it has been, it's been a sort of frustrating process that, my property, we bought our property actually in 2006, and the next year we got an assessment of, $50,000 or more. Actually, it was a little bit of a mistake, but it was still about, they were assessing us at, a lot more than what we actually purchased it for. So we went through the process the first time, and we were able to bring it back down. This last time, which was just, 7 years later, they reassessed our property at like over $50,000 more than what we purchased it at. Now, we have had refinancing done a couple of times to be able to lower interest rates, and so we've had at least 3 bona fide appraisals on our property, and they do not match at all what we were assessed at. And when I started looking through the tax records and looking at sale prices, what I was actually sold for, and what they were assessed at, there was a lot of disparity. I also noticed that while our property went up over $50,000, the guy across the street went down $1,000, and my mother's property on St. Clair Avenue went down $40,000. And so I just had no idea how properties are actually assessed by our assessor, and it just doesn't seem to make any sense to me. So I'm hoping, I was happy to see that we were considering, there was a discussion about opting out of the program.
Yeah.
The other thing is it's an annual program, so for someone like me who goes and does the appeal, whereas that appeal would have lasted like a few years.
And now it has to
every
be,
year,
that is
they
one of
can
the
come
biggest
back and do it
complaints,
again,
yeah, that we've heard.
Same thing, and I think that really disadvantages the property owner. Because first of all, if you do it yourself, you're at a disadvantage because you can't get into the MLS listing where you can find out all the information that other people have access to. You can only find out you can find out basic information, but you can't really find out, who has the nice brand new kitchen versus who has the 50-year-old kitchen, or you can't find out the real nitty-gritty about what increases the value of a house. I mean, you can have 3 bedrooms and 2.5 baths, but, do you have the stainless steel marble countertop kitchen, or do you have, my kitchen stove is older than I am, So it's that kind of stuff you don't have access to as a homeowner. So you either have to rely on, you either have to get an attorney, or you have to get a appraiser, which costs money. And so to make it worth your while to pay them, and to make it worth their while, if they can reassess you every year and you're fighting the fight every year, it doesn't make it worth it, you know?
Yeah, in our previous.
It can inch you up, like a few bits every year, because they have a 15% range that they have to be within where they're assumed to be correct. So the process just seems a little bit skewed to me, you know, and not in favor of the taxpayer, so I'd like to be in on that discussion.
Yeah, we discussed this matter multiple times.
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine, but the desire was to have it as an agenda item to actually, as a pretext to actually deciding on, we have until the end of April to decide on whether we're gonna opt out or not.
Yeah.
I think there has been some agreement among the members up here that there are some flaws to the system, and certainly one of the biggest complaints that we've heard from homeowners is the fact that, it's reassessed on a yearly basis. Even if you appeal, they can just bump it back up the next year. I mean, the desire is that some of the, in my opinion, some of the ideas behind the program are sound. The best way for these programs to work is that everybody's assessed at the fair value of their homes and you're paying your fair share. And the best way to do that is have the most accurate information, as opposed to, like, the first time you got assessed in 2006, and a spike in the market prices is not the best year to have, you know, for your next 10 years of assessment. That being said, doing it every year is an up and down thing that you can't budget for, that's hard to appeal, it's problematic, not to mention there has certainly been some question raised by the fact that we were only able to pick one company to do our assessments for us. So, I mean, we'll discuss this more before we decide on it, but I don't know, in my opinion, there is not a great deal of initiative on this board to continue in that program. I can't speak for everybody, but that's certainly the thought that I've gotten from the opinions that I've heard.
We were also one of the houses, and I don't know if everyone had someone come, but we were also one of the houses that had somebody come out and look at our house this summer.
So you were one of the 20%, yeah.
So I was really happy when I got that notice, because I thought, okay, now.
Now they're gonna get it right.
And give us a real appraisal and tell it to the, tell the town what like a real guy is going to come in and look at my, my 1950s stove and linoleum and give them a proper assessment of our house. When in fact, when the guy came, all he said was that he was simply confirming the information on the county tax records cards. Like, yeah, I have 3 bedrooms, yeah, I have a living room, kitchen, yeah, I have a driveway, none of which was at all what we were kind of giving the impression it was going to be, or was hoping it would be. Hoping it would be a live body, real eyes coming in and assessing the property and trying to give some feedback to the assessor about, hey, here's what we would have appraised this house at, here's what you have it assessed at. If your assessment is based on market value, which is what they say it's supposed to be based on, I know the market value of my house as given by bona fide appraisers. And I've had it redone over the last several years, is more than $50,000 less than what I was appraised at. So,
okay.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you. I still have to point you to something, sorry. I forgot.
Not to be forgetful, I think.
Yeah.
Cat Carpenter, 564 Atlantic Avenue. I just want to commend all borough workers for their hard work and effort over the last couple of days. I live on Atlantic Avenue, so I have a ringside seat to the public works yards. And boy, the vehicles went in and out of there, and the fleet, the guys would come back for meals, and then the fleet of plows would go out again. And even today was Southside garbage pickup. They went out, they did their regular duties, did the pickup, and then all the snow equipment went out again. The sanders went out, plows went out, the backhoe went out, the front end loader went out, and those guys just did an amazing job. And I know the emergency management guys were out, the fire department, and that's like an unsung job doing that stuff, because those guys are going 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and without sleep and for hours on end in the cold, in the wet, in the snow, when nobody else wants to be out there. So God bless him. And even Jay Delaney is in his dress down mode today, which means he was out and about. He's not his usual dapper suited self tonight, so I'm sure Jay was running around out there too, so.
He only got stuck once on his way in.
There you go. So I just wanted to say, because I saw them firsthand going out and stuff. It was amazing the effort that they put out, so thank you.
To echo on that, I also want to throw a thanks out to all the residents, because we had high compliance with keeping vehicles off the street with the snowfall. There were some who, for whatever reason, don't listen, and a special thanks to our police department for being kind and going out and knocking on doors and letting them know, because it's been an ordinance for a while, and there was discussion about towing vehicles to get them out of the way, but our police department wouldn't do that and went knocking on doors to get people to move their cars and looking at plates. So if you got a knock on the door, our police were doing you a very big favor by giving you a heads up to move your car. But to everybody who did what they were supposed to, I saw a lot of cars in Allaire Road Park from people who took advantage of using the lot to get cars that they couldn't put in their driveway for whatever reason. But thank you to the residents, because that makes it so much easier on our guys plowing the street to not dodge all the cars.
All right, anybody else? Seeing no hands, I will suggest we close the voice of the public.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
And then I'll make my announcement that I also am appointing Kathleen Crippen to the Environmental Commission.
And I'm the old member.
Or reappointing, she was on there already.
Two new members and one old one, but you didn't want to say that.
All right, and unless there's anything else, can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion to get out of here.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.